Welcome everyone to the Helix webinar series. Today's session is going to be on HelixGPT Insight Finder. This is a configuration workshop, one of many we will be doing. So when you did sign up for this session, you will find that there's also other sessions for different agents, but today's focus is going to be on Insight Finder. We're delighted to have you today, and Veronica will be presenting and doing the demo. She's also joined by her customer success team that will be supporting her in the Q&A. So if you do have any questions during this session, please click the Q&A section of Zoom. You will find that at the bottom of your screen. We will have you remain muted until we get towards the end, and we will have roughly around 15 minutes where we will take your questions live. The other thing to point out is we will be running 2 polls. So when I hand over the reins to Veronica very shortly to get us started, I will be launching a poll. It's just to get a few bits of information about where you are in your journey. And then we will also have another one towards the end, and it's just to understand how and what you've got from today's workshop, whether it's been useful, and if there's anything else that you'd like further follow-ups on. So I think with that, and conscious because we've spent a little bit longer trying to get everyone in, I'm going to now hand over to Veronica to get us started. So welcome everyone, and over to you, Veronica.
Excellent. Thank you, Sam. Good day, everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Veronica Mena, and I am part of the Helix Adoption Advisor team here at the BMC Helix. My purpose today is to be your dedicated guide through the configuration steps for the Insight Finder. To ensure we make the best use of our time, let's quickly review the agenda and the structure of our session. Our agenda is structured to take you from the foundational knowledge to a complete working configuration. We just completed introduction. Next, I will conduct a brief prerequisite review to ensure your environment complies with all the technical requirements. I will be then providing an Insight Finder overview explaining its key capabilities. Following that, I will detail the core configuration elements required for its configuration. Then we move into the configuration demo, where I will walk you through the steps of the configuration process. Once configured, I will demonstrate the dashboard creation to show you the solution in action. And finally, we will have a dedicated QA session to address all your remaining questions. This roadmap will ensure you leave today with a full operational understanding of the Insight Finder. Before we dive into the configuration, let's quickly review the technical requirements. The first requirement is to ensure that the Helix Service Management is running under the version 25.2 or higher. In addition, HelixGPT Agent Studio and the Helix Platform Common Services must both be at the version 25.3 or higher. If your current versions are older than these minimums, a system update will be necessary before implementing this solution. Next, you will need admin permissions for both Innovation Suite and Helix dashboards. All of our HelixGPT agents operate under a bring-your-own LLM model, meaning their power comes from the LLM that you will provide. Therefore, for this particular agent, you will need a subscription to one of the following providers: Azure OpenAI or Google Vertex Gemini. It is crucial that during the setup, please have the API endpoint URL and the API key for the LLM of your choice. Finally, for those who want to maximize the impact of the data we'll be discussing, we highly recommend attending or watching a recording of the webinar From Data to Decisions, Elevate Your Helix Dashboards with Insight Finder. It provides valuable context of leveraging the agent capabilities within your organization. HelixGPT Insight Finder simplifies and accelerates your data process. It makes creating complex dashboards faster and significantly improves the quality of insights you gain from your data. The best part? It is incredibly easy to use. There is no complex setup, no coding, and no need to involve a data expert. The agent can be up and running in minutes. How it works? Insight Finder is a React agent type. This simply means it is a smart AI that combines clear thinking with immediate steps, helping it make better and more accurate decisions. Insight Finder first builds a contextual understanding by analyzing the user's prompt. Based on its reasoning, the agent takes the actions by invoking APIs or querying our database. It then receives the feedback from the environment to inform its next steps. This is where the Insight Finder truly shines. You simply ask a question like, show me all the critical incidents for the last week, and it automatically generates a dashboard from that input. Once the dashboard is generated, you retain the full control. Now you can change the chart types, add the filters, ask follow-up questions. It is fast, intuitive, and designed for everyone, not just for the analyst. Before we can proceed with the HelixGPT Insight Finder configuration process, you should understand the foundational system components that we'll be either creating or updating. The first step is to set up the connection to your chosen AI service provider. Although the models are predefined in the system through out-of-the-box configuration, we must update the model configuration first to establish this critical connection. This allows HelixGPT to successfully communicate with your LLM. Once that initial connection is established, the rest of the configuration involves creating a few other core components that enable the AI-driven dashboard generation and the data interaction capabilities. Specifically, we will be updating 2 agents and 1 skill. The main goal of creating and updating these components is to generate a unique skill ID. The new skill ID is the critical element that will transfer to the Helix dashboards for the final configuration. Specifically, we will be replacing the existing out-of-the-box Insight Finder skill ID with a new created ID to ensure the feature is fully operational. Together, these components form the complete operational foundation of the Insight Finder framework. All these components are configured directly within the HelixGPT Agent Studio. To gain access, you must have the Innovation Suite admin role, which is essential for making the necessary system level. Once you have this permission, accessing the studio is very simple. Navigate from your environments portal to the BMC Helix Innovation Suite, and from there, select BMC HelixGPT Agent Studio. This will bring you to the main interface where we'll begin the configuration process. Starting with the version 25.2, the HelixGPT Agent Studio comes with preloaded default configuration values for the Insight Finder. This is what we refer to as seeded data. The seeded data represents the out-of-the-box records that are pre-populated during installation or during the upgrade. The purpose of the data is to provide a working foundation, offering default configurations, sample templates, and essential system values that the application needs and that you can build upon. It is absolutely critical to understand the fundamental best practice that applies to all our HelixGPT agents. Seeded records are intended only as templates and must not be used directly in your final configuration. To protect your work, always create copies of the seeded records and use those custom copies for your configuration. If you use the seeded records directly, you risk losing your unique configuration during the future Agent Studio upgrades. After successfully completing the creation and update of the foundational data records, there are 2 final critical steps to accomplish. The first step is to ensure the Insight Finder feature is fully operational by replacing the existing out-of-the-box Insight Finder skill ID with a new created ID. You will perform this update by navigating in your environment from the Helix dashboards and HelixGPT Insight Finder, and from there to settings. The second step is crucial for adoption. You must manage access control within Helix dashboards to ensure your general use base can interact with the new functionality. By default, only administrators can access HelixGPT Insight Finder. To enable other users, you must set up permissions by navigating to the Helix dashboards, administration, users and access, and roles. From there, you will grant the necessary permissions through the Manage Permissions screen. There are 2 types of permissions for the Helix Insight Finder users: access and create dashboards. We recommend a tiered approach for these permissions. Grant access permissions to all of most users. This allows the vast majority of your users to view and benefit from the dashboards generated by the Insight Finder. and grant the Create Dashboard permission to a few power users. These are the individuals who need the ability to initiate and generate new dashboards using the Insight Finder agent. This balanced approach ensures wide adoption across your organization while still maintaining the control over who can create and modify the core dashboards. Once our entire configuration process is complete, meaning the model, the agents, and the skills are full configured, the skill ID is updated, and the user rights are assigned, your users will be ready to immediately leverage the power of the Insight Finder. It is important to know that right away, your users can create powerful dashboards using Insight Finder against the standard out-of-the-box tables that are predefined in the system. For any custom data your organization uses, the process requires an additional step. Admins must use the Reporting Metadata Studio tool to bring your custom tables and fields and create the necessary custom views. Once those views are created, you will need to configure HelixGPT Insight Finder to recognize and utilize those custom views. If you are unfamiliar with the tool or require additional assistance, we can certainly schedule a one-to-one session with one of our team members to cover this topic in detail. By following these steps, you ensure that the Insight Finder is not limited to the standard data, but can intelligently generate dashboards from your organization's unique custom data as well. Let's look at how simple it is for your end users to start leveraging the powerful tool. Once all the previous mentioned steps are completed, users can easily access the tool directly with their dashboard environment. All they need to do is access it from the Helix dashboards and HelixGPT Insight Finder. The user interface is designed for natural language interaction. Users simply type the prompts, and Insight Finder generates the dashboards automatically. Here are a few examples of the type of the prompts you can use. Show count of incidents, show breakdown of the change request by status, show the list of problems submitted in the past month. It is truly that simple. Just ask our agent a data question, and Insight Finder builds a visualization for you. To help you better understand the Insight Finder configuration process, I would like to outline the deployment workflow. To configure Insight Finder, BMC Helix follows a bottom-up approach. We start with the foundational components that handle the data access before we define the final conversational experience. This design ensures that when the agent receives a request, the necessary tools are already in place to deliver a seamless answer. It is important to note that the components marked in red are pre-configured out of the box. This allows us to significantly streamline the deployment process and focus solely on deploying the necessary workers that are indicated in the blue and purple. Here is explanation of the full configuration workflow. First, it is necessary to establish the technical connection to your ITSM data by selecting the ITSM Query Builder toolkit type, and then creating the specific Query Builder toolkit instance. This deployed toolkit is a live agent that holds your connection details and is the only component that directly queries your database. Once the data connection is secure, the next step is to define the roles of the AI workers. We define the ITSM Query Builder agent type and the Insight Finder Supervisor agent type. These agent types are the blueprints that dictate the specific functions and behaviors of the deployed agents. Then, we deploy the specific AI workers. We simply need to create the deployed instances, the ITSM Query Builder agent and the ITSM Insight Finder Supervisor agent. These agents are the conversational interface and the data translator, now to be ready to assign specific tasks. Finally, we create the Insight Finder Supervisor agent skill. The skill is routing logic that brings everything together. It is assigned to the supervisor agent and tells the agents when a user question requires a data query, and how to delegate the task to the Query Builder agent and the toolkit. By following this architectural order, the toolkit type, the toolkit, the agent type, the agent, and finally the skill, we ensure the final conversational agent is fully equipped with all the necessary capabilities to fetch, analyze, and present your ITSM data. In case you would like to know more about the purpose of each component, you can find the detailed information here. We will be sharing the presentation after the workshop for your reference. That concludes our overview of the prerequisites and the foundation and architecture. Now it's time for the part of the session where we bring the configuration to life. At BMC Helix, we understand that setting up a new tool requires precision. Therefore, we are moving into a live hands-on demonstration in my environment, which is designed as detailed step-by-step walkthrough. During this live configuration demo, I will break down each step, guiding you through the screens and clearly specifying which values to insert for your models, agent, and skill. The goal is for you to follow along and execute the same steps in your environment. Please have your API URL and API key handy. Our ultimate goal is to ensure that you leave this session today with the Insight Finder agent completely ready to be used, enabling you to immediately leverage its full capabilities within your organization. Before we start, I have two quick indications to make. During the configuration process, I won't be able to check the chat, but I have a dedicated team of BMC experts assisting me today, and they will be monitoring the QA panel to answer any specific questions you may have. And secondly, as we launch into the demo, please be aware that we will be working with multiple screens and browser tabs simultaneously. This is necessary because the configuration steps are interdependent. We recommend keeping all these browser tabs open as we proceed. However, if you accidentally close a window or lose your place, simply post your question in the QA panel and one of our dedicated advisors will help you get back to our track. With that, let's begin. So just this time around, I'm sorry, but I will have to close my camera because I have so many windows open. Now it's time for the demonstration. All right. Let's look at where we actually going to start building these amazing agents. The process is very simple. 3-step navigation journey to get you to the right spot. First, we start at the main gate, which is the Helix portal. So please go and access your portal. From the portal, we immediately need to jump into the Innovation Suite, which is our core platform that runs our BMC Helix applications. It will bring us to the Innovation Studio, which is the main deployment tool we use to build the customization applications. So please click here. Now, here is the important part. Once you are in the Innovation Studio, you will see there are two distinct places from where you can access HelixGPT Agent Studio. The first one is from the Innovation Studio Workplace Applications. Here you have it. You will access HelixGPT Agent Studio from here when you want to work on a low-level configuration, that means from the record itself. The second place is from the application launcher. Here you have it. This is your friendly path. We use this to access a dedicated HelixGPT Agent Studio interface from where we handle the high-level configuration, which means from where we create the agents, the skills, and the prompts. We are going to start our configuration from the application launcher. So please go here to the waffle and select the HelixGPT Agent Studio. Once you are in the HelixGPT Agent Studio, the next step is to access settings. This is where we will establish the connection to your external provider. Now, you must expand HelixGPT, Connections, and from the AI service providers, you will see a list of predefined options here. You need to select the one that aligns to your chosen provider and fill out the required parameters. In my case, I will be using this one. The parameters that you will need to fill out typically include the name, the version, the API point, and the URL. For the name, BMC Helix best practice is to use a distinctive name that will help you easily identify the model throughout the configuration. In my case, I will be using this provider that I have pre-configured, and I will rename the model as BMC H and the rest of the name. This distinctive prefix will help me to identify the model very easily during the configuration process. Once all these parameters are fulfilled, please click on the test connection. You will need to get a successful message, as you can see on the screen. After the test is successful, please go ahead and click on Save. Now that we have successfully established the connection to our LLM provider, it is time to start creating the core components I showed you earlier. Let's start with the ITSM Builder agent. Please navigate to the Agents tab. From here, we will select the Add Agent. In the new window, we will enter a distinctive name. Remember, our best practice is to use names that clearly represent the purpose of the agent. Since we are creating the one for the ITSM Query Builder, I will use the same prefix as before, BMC H, and then I will type ITSM Query Builder agent as the name. Next, from the Type drop-down, select the ITSM Query Builder. You can just simply copy and paste the name to the description field. For tools, select the ITSM Query Builder toolkit. Now select your provider and then select the model we just configured. By using the distinctive prefix, we can now easily identify the one of your choice. Once all the fields are complete, please go ahead and click on Save. Now we move to the second component, the Insight Finder Supervisor agent. Let's go ahead and click the Add Agent again. In the new window, enter the name, following our naming convention. I will use the prefix BMCH, and the name will be Insight Finder Supervisor Agent. Next, from the Type drop-down, select Insight Finder Supervisor Agent. As before, you can copy the name into the description field. For the tool, select Insight Finder. Now, for this agent, we must select a sub-agent. This is the most critical step, as it is the step that links the Insight Finder Supervisor agent with the data translation capabilities of the ITSM Query Builder. So from the list of sub-agents, please select your newly deployed ITSM Query Builder agent. Finally, select your provider and then the model we previously configured. Once all the fields are complete, go ahead and click Save. We have successfully deployed both agents. However, before we can move into the final step, that is skill creation, we need to add a specific configuration to the Insight Finder Supervisor agent at the data record level. This means we are leaving the application UI and moving into the Innovation Studio workspace. So please now go to the Innovation Studio workspace tab. Select Applications, and then locate and click on the HelixGPT Agent Studio. From the list of records display, click the checkbox next to the agent. If your list isn't in alphabetical order, simply click the pointing arrow next to the name and to quickly sort it out. Once selected, please click on the Edit Data. The list of all the agents in your systems will be displayed. You can easily find the agents we just created by using the search field. Type in your prefix and then hit Enter. The list of the agents will be displayed. And before we proceed with the configuration process, please copy to your clipboard the exact name you use for the ITSM Query Builder agent. I will copy here and copy to the clipboard. Now it's time for us to open a notepad. And you must paste here the name. It's just for easy access, okay? Now, please look at the Zoom chat. My team has pasted a block of JSON code here. We need to modify this code before we can use it. Sam, do you mind if you can just please paste it to the chat? The people will have to use it.
I've just posted it in. Hopefully everyone can see that.
Okay, excellent. Now, please copy and paste the name that we just copied here. And we will have to replace the placeholder name you see in the code with the custom name you just copied. It is extremely important, please, to validate that you don't have extra spaces and the name is exactly as is. Now, copy the entire update code block, including the main brackets, to your clipboard. These two blocks. Now, return to the Innovation Studio workspace window. From the list of the agents still displayed, select the checkbox next to the BMC, well, in my case, it's the BMC Insight Finder Supervisor agent, and then click the Edit Data. This is the one that I created. I come here, and I come here and edit. Locate the configuration field containing the two empty curly brackets. Select it, and now carefully replace those two curly brackets with the JSON code you just updated in the clipboard. And now, after that, you can click Save. Please make sure you have one curly bracket at the beginning and the two curly brackets at the end. And also that the name matches with the name of the agent that you just created. And now, click Save. Now we have successfully linked the supervisor agent to the query builder agent at the deepest configuration level. Now let's move into the final piece, creating our skill. This is a routing logic that brings the whole agent to life. So please go back to the Agent Studio window. Now navigate to the skill tabs. From the application field dropdown, select Helix Dashboards. Now, click on Add Skill. In the new window, we will configure the details of our new skill. As before, we need to use a distinctive name that represents the main function of our skill. In my case, I'm going to use the prefix BMCH. And now the distinctive name that in this case is going to be Insight Finder Supervisor Skill. Please leave the type field as regular. If you don't see this field, don't worry, the default value is always regular, so just continue. Select your provider and then select the model we configured earlier. Thanks to our naming convention, we can easily spot the correct name in the list. Leave the user context process definition field as is. And now under the instruction type, please click on Agent. Once all the fields are complete, please go ahead and click on Save. On Add. Congratulations, now you have successfully configured the core architecture of the Insight Finder agent. Now it's time to transfer the ID to our newly created ID in the Helix dashboards. This is the final step before we can test it. So please look at the left side panel where the list of the skills are displayed. Now click under the visible columns, check the box of the next ID, and all the IDs for the different skills that you have listed are going to be displayed. Please copy the one that you just created. Highlight it, and then you can copy. Now we need to apply the ID of the Insight Finder setting into the Helix dashboards. So please go back to your Helix portal. From the portal, select Helix dashboards. From the left side menu, expand Helix Insight Finder. And from the Insight Finder, you will click on Settings. Replace the ID we currently created with the skill ID that you have on the screen. Disable the enable streaming. Just so you know, our recommendation is to wait for the version 25.4 before enabling this feature. And now, click on Save. Your agent is now fully configured, and now is the moment of truth. Click on the HelixGPT Insight Finder in the menu, and the chat window will be open. You can start testing your agent by just typing a query like, for example, show me counter incident by status. And now the agent should be working. So hold on. We have a technical problem, but it's very easy for us to identify where the problem might be. If we go back to the supervisor skill, the first thing that we have to do is validate that we have the model for all the different components that we have created. In here we have the Azure OpenAI, the model that we just created for the Insight Finder supervisor skill. So this is okay. And then we just can validate again the agents that we created. We can see here the Insight Finder supervisor agent, and also has the model, the new model that we just have. In here we have the BMC ITSM Query Builder. It also has the model that we just created. So now the only other place in where this might be failing is from the data editor. We just go back here and validate that we are using the right name. Let me just copy once again the name. Let me access this. And in here, let me just validate that this is the right name. I think it is, but just in case, let me replace it. Yeah, it is the same. Usually when there is no changes in the screen, the save button is not going to be enabled. So it is the right one, okay? And also here you can validate the sub-agent ID. We can see that this is ending with PCR. If I click on cancel because there is nothing to change, I can also validate that this one is ending with PCR. So we are using the right agent. Let's go back to the connection. Just validate that our connection, there is nothing wrong with it. The agent, the connection, the AI service provider. We can go here again to the connection that we chose. And from here, we can test the connection again. The connection is successful. So let's validate now the skill ID. If we go here to the BMC Finder Supervisor skill, this is the one that we created. Let's display again the ID. Let's just copy and paste the ID once again. And let's go back here to the settings. We come to settings. We enter the ID. We save it. And let's try again. Honestly, the validation process is very simple. So let's try again. Show me a count of incidents. Show me incidents by status. Okay. What we can do now is we have another skill that it was pre-configured before, and we can use it. We can go back to this, to the supervisor agent skill, and we can use it. If I go here, it's also using this. Save it. Let's refresh it. And let's go here. And now the visualization has been added. You can see this is where you can really validate that your Insight Finder agent is working as expected. So this time around, the only thing that I am asking you is if we can have some thumbs up for everyone who has successfully completed the configuration so we can celebrate your success. Now that the configuration is complete, I'm going to hand this over Sam before we have our live QA session. Sam, this is all yours.
Thank you. And actually, I wasn't expecting it to be this quick. I better go and launch the other poll. So let me just close down the poll, and thank you to those that have answered that poll. We do have another one, and I'm just going to pop that in now. Let me just do that, and then I'll go through my slides. Do you want to pull back the slides up again? Okay. So just a quick reminder as well, a bit of a plug for our roadshows. For those that haven't been to any of them, but actually some of these dates might work for you, we do have Riyadh coming up next week, which is on October the 29th. We also have New York. So I notice many of you look like you've come from the US somewhere. We would love to see you in person. I know that Veronica herself and Eric will be at the New York Roadshow, and I also know Marta, who's going to be running one of the sessions in a few weeks' time. She will be at the Madrid one, which is on November the 18th. And then we conclude with Frankfurt and Mexico. So Just a bit of a reminder, as much as it's lovely to do these sessions digitally and it's much easier, there are a lot of our team that are going to be at many of these different roadshows, and we will also have product management and in person. So there's nothing better than meeting people face to face. So certainly for New York, which will be one of our biggest, if you do want to look out for Eric and Veronica, they would love to see you, and I'm sure you might have questions on the workshop. So just a quick one on that and a plug. For those that don't know, we do work very closely with Gartner, and we do a lot of partnering with them. We would love you to fill in a survey. It's not something that we get directly from us. If you're successful, it will be published live through Gartner. And if you do have a phone at hand or you want to take this link, I will actually send this out post-event as well. We would love you to share your feedback. It is important to us. Okay, and then the final slide before we go to the Q&A, which our team have been very, very busy on. Just a little bit of a reminder, we know there's a lot that's been covered today, and we've taken liberty to set up a workshop series community page. I know many of you already follow my webinar page. Again, I will be sharing this out with the slides. We will also share the link. You'll see that one that's hyperlinked in blue. Just because we're mindful everyone's at different stages in their journey, we don't want you to feel like everything's overconsumed from today. Do fill in that second poll that I've just launched. In there, we'll ask questions on how comfortable you feel with your journey. If you have any questions, when we put the Q&A section out, on there will be a comment section. And if you want to put your questions in there for the team, we will be able to answer for those directly. And the reason we're asking you to put your comments there, anything that you're probably asking is going to help other customers as well. So I will put a bit of direct information in your follow-up thank you email, but we would love to get your feedback. And obviously in person right now, we've got this poll that will give us an idea of where you are. And of course, we will follow up. And if you do have a CSM directly that you work with, please also reach out to them as well. So I think that's everything that I wanted to cover. Veronica, thank you so much for presenting today. I know there was a lot of questions, so we've kept our team busy. We do have 2 that's left. So I am actually going to pick on Marta, who was answering a question for Sunil. If you could take that one live, Marta, and then that will give me the opportunity to unmute everyone and give them the opportunity to speak to us also live.
Yeah, we are good. If there are questions on live, that it is good to open a microphone and then they can do the questions.
Just doing it. So if you want to take up Sunil's first question, he was asking about why was the previous configuration was not working, how to troubleshoot. So Sunil,
okay.
Yeah,
I was answering writing, but it's like why why was the previous configuration was not working and how to troubleshoot. I was answering this question now. There are some few things that we need to, or Veronica, maybe you want to answer, or
yes. Let me go back. Let me go back to the environment, so it's going to be for me easy to explain. Okay, we have pretty much 3 places where you can validate, the configuration. I may have some typo somewhere, and that's the reason that it's not working. Okay, if you go back to the environment, the first place that you have to validate this is from the Agent Studio. From the Agent Studio, just validate that every component that you are using is using the right model. Because sometimes when you have, the list of the models, you may have more than one model configured, and you might be selecting, the model from the different, for the different components, and maybe you made a mistake in there. But usually, when you just go here and you just start, drilling down to validate that every component has exactly the same model, it should be okay. Oh, hold on. I know why this is not working. I missed one step. From the BMC supervisor skill, we must select the agent that we recently created. That's the reason that it's not working. So if you go back here to the agent, from the agent tab, I missed the final step. That is how we link the supervisor skill to the agent that we just created. If you go to the agents tab, you will see the full list of agents, that we just have in the system. We have to select the BMC supervisor Insight Finder supervisor agent. And from here, we just need to click on apply. Now it's going to work. I can show you that. Now that we have linked the supervisor skill with the agent, all we have to do is go back again, copy paste the link, go to the settings, save it, and now it should work. Let's start again. Okay, let's click on the new topic. And let's go again. And now it's working. So I missed by mistake to link the supervisor skill to the agent that we just created. So after, but it's important, guys, for you guys to understand something. Right after you create the agents, you must first add the configuration here. If the configuration is not added by the time that you link it, there is going to be a problem. And if you try to add it afterwards, it is not going to work, and you will have to remove all the previous, the previous configuration and start all over again. Okay, so please just follow the steps. It was my mistake. I didn't, choose the agent that we created during the workshop, but that's the reason that it was not working. But anyways, for you to validate and this pretty much applies to all the agents, you always have to validate that the model that we are working on applies to all the different components that you are working for that specific agent. And this is the first step that you have to do, okay? And once you have validate also that you are linking the right components, to the right skills and agents. And that's all you need to do. And my apologies, I missed that step.
Okay, hopefully, Sunil, that's answered your question. Do feel free to come off mute if you've got anything further. I have responded back into the chat. If not, we'll move to the next question. So we have another question from Radhika, and it's, when you ask for the same report sometime later, will it refresh the previous visualization? Don't know if you want to take that question, Veronica.
Could you repeat, please?
Yes, so when you ask for the same report sometime later, will it refresh the previous visualization? I don't know, Radhika, if you can hear us.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, here you go.
Sorry.
Do you want to speak to Veronica?
Sure,
No,
yeah.
no, that's okay.
Okay, fine. You go ahead, Veronica.
No, Radhika, please go ahead.
So when you asked for the same report the second time, it said this is the same report, right? But sometimes we want that report updated, isn't it? Because the data would have changed. So in that case, will it visualize, or we just have to click on new topic and then type that again?
The Insight Finder is not ready to modify existing reports.
Okay.
Okay. So the problem here is because I was changing the skills. I should have, click on the new topic before, so it can kind of like a refresh the connection. Okay. So it's important to mention Insight Finder today is not to modify existing reports. It's only and purely for creation of new reports. So once we have the new topic, this is considered part of the dashboard, and you cannot go back and try to modify it. In my case, it's because it was, again, I was just changing between the skills. So I will have to refresh it and go from there.
Okay, sure. Yeah, thank you.
Veronica, there is a new question on the chat about where to look out for logs, for errors, how it is functioning. I mean, if there is a place that we can see the logs for this.
Okay.
That is the question.
There are different places in where you can see some logs. For example, when you try to test, applies for skills, I think, and so for some agents. Every agent, let me go back here. Every skill, if you click on the skill that you just created, for example, you have the option to test it. And when you test it from here, you are not testing it from the UI. You can validate the connections and the different, prompts that you are typing. However, there is also another place from where you can add a specific configuration to the langsmith. I don't know who is really, familiar with the LangSmith or who is not familiar. But the LangSmith is a free tool that you can use, that you just have to create, an account. And from here, you just type here, for example, it's an example, the name of the project that you would like to use as the repository of the different calls for the different components. Keep in mind that you have to put the LangSmith into every component that you are testing, so you can really see, the communication that is going back and forward from us and there. That's also the reason why you must use your custom data. If you try to put the LangSmith here for the out of the box, you won't be able to do it. If I select this is the out of the box, let me see which one is the out of the box. The configure option is not going to be selected. So you won't be able to add any data there. So it's important to really work on your custom data so you can have the full control of the items you are creating. And the same apply for the models, for the agents and the skills. So by the time the system is calling that specific skill, on the LangSmith, you are going to see, let me see if I can join to my LangSmith. You can see some of the code, that is coming back. And so you can try to understand. You can try to understand how is the communication going, This is not for the Insight Finder because I didn't have it enabled, but I have it here, for example, enabled for other agent that I was working on. So this is the LangSmith, and here you can see all the input and the response from the system. So you can start validating how the communication is going. And in case you have an error, you can also see it from here. Okay? This is just something that I was testing yesterday. Hope this answers your question.
I have another suggestion, Veronica, to add to your answer. So if you can you go back to the Helix dashboards? Yes. So after you creating your prompts and you see the results, what you can do as well is verify the code that was generated for the query exactly. So over here you can see, for instance, the other day I was testing a couple of things, and the large language model wasn't capturing what I wanted to, the exact variable. So you can always then specify a little bit more, saying, look at the field such and such for this attribute, and I want the incidents that have this attribute on this field. So after that, you can start being a little bit more specific by looking at the query. Just a suggestion on getting better results.
Yeah. In fact, this query is a result of the translation of your prompt. So you can really validate if the agent understood your question. If the agent did not understand the question, perhaps you just have to rephrase it for the agent to understand it. But you can validate every query. And you can even put, complex queries. There are complex queries that you can create. My suggestion is that you start with easy ones, and once you get familiar with the agent itself, you can start building upon, more complex queries.
Thank you, Veronica. A related question about this troubleshooting from Sunil Kumar is saying, my question is not how to test, but is how to do the troubleshooting. If the prompt is not working, how to troubleshooting. I guess, or my understanding is that they go into the agent, you have the test Veronica showed before, and from the test, you can see the logs there to see which prompt is not working, which agent is not working.
For the Insight Finder, honestly speaking,
in the skill actions there, you can test it from there, and then you will see the logs in the action button. But in case troubleshooting, we have support. Support now is on the top of all of these. If you don't see the error, what is going on there, please raise a case to support, and they are very happy to help you for the troubleshooting. Okay, so
have quite a few
for the skill, but I think, you know what, if I am not mistaken, this approach of validating from here doesn't work for Helix dashboards, because it cannot put the SQL query itself from here. It applies for all the rest of the agents that we have, but doesn't apply for Insight Finder.
Okay.
Okay.
But additionally, Veronica, we have a document that we have created in our team with all steps, step by step, that you should receive PDF documents. So there, if you go step by step with screenshots, with all the data you have to put, it should work. As I said, from BMC support, they are happy to help in case that you cannot fix the issues that you have in the agent, in the skills.
Yeah, for the Insight Finder, honestly speaking, again, you just have to validate that you have the right model, that you put the right code, into the supervisor agent. The code is there. Validate that you have the curly brackets at the beginning, at the end, and at the end you have 2 curly brackets because the people that knows how to program, they have to have the same opening, the same ending. Just validate that. Also validate that the name of the agent itself is equal to the one that you just created. Remember, from the agents, we are linking, by the time that we are creating the Insight Finder, we are linking that name, this Insight Finder supervisor agent, we are linking it with the sub-agent that we created for the ITSM Query Builder. If you don't have this connection established, the agent is not going to work. It must have it. We've been in calls with customers in where they are skipping this step, or maybe they are not selecting the right one. So by the time that we go to the configuration, we can see that the name that we are trying to replace doesn't match with the ID of the right agent. So just keep in mind that you have to select from here the right agent, the one that you just created. And please use your own copy, because if there are any changes that you need to do in the future, it's better to use the copies, because remember, the seeded data is going to be updated during upgrades or during the version of upgrades itself. So please just use this practice, and applies to all the agents regardless of Insight Finder or not. Please, it's the same best practice around, or through the HelixGPT.
Okay. Thank you, Veronica. There is another question from Brian Morris. I see that asset management should be accessible and is enabled in my views. The system returns that I have 0 laptops and 0 servers. So it clearly isn't seeing them. Is there some additional configuration needed for asset queries?
Asset management, as far as I know, is not supported on the version 25.3. Okay?
No, Veronica, it is supported in 25.3 with LLM. Yes, with LLM 4.1, it is supported, and you can do the questions about that. There is not additional configurations to do here. I mean, it should go to your Visual Query Builder, take the query, and then give the correct answer, but test it, check everything, but it's supposed that it is working. In 25.3, it is working. So if you have any issues, please raise a case of support for that.
No,
just
so remember that it's just out of the box. Yes.
Yep. Just I wanted to add to your answer, Marta, when it comes to and to Brian's question. One of the items that should be, like I suggested before, in order to look at the query that is being formed, because sometimes the law, being natural language, it is interpreted. So in order to make a mapping to the concepts of the data model, you might need to be a little bit more specific in the language. I faced that issue before in queries. I do not recall exactly how I turned it around, but it was a matter of language in the way that I would put the question to generate the query.
Yes, I totally agree. The language matters, and it's the way that the system is going to interpret it. Yes.
Yeah, and that led to my next question, which is more about like, how would you make this friendly if I put this in front of a manager who's not an ITSM expert and doesn't know the table names and doesn't know the field names like I do? They're not going to be able to use this very effectively. But perhaps if the tool gave some feedback and said, oh, tell me what you want to know. Okay, yeah, is this type of information you want? And then created a graphic, that might be a great way to enhance this tool.
Can I answer, Veronica, this question?
Yes.
Okay. In this case, you don't need to know the tables. I mean, you only put there, give me the incidents open. So it is supposed that we are going to do queries about ITSM, incidents, change, whatever. You don't need to know the tables. It's like only with natural language. But additionally, if you don't know what do you want to, what question you want to do, then the system can help you to do the question. Now, Veronica, please wait a second, because there is another type of things or another type of sentence. Help me to analyze incident management. If you write this in the chat, the system is going to give you like 4 options there for the user, because I am not an expert in incidents, so help me to analyze incident management. Then you will see 4 options there. Is about what do you want to see? About issues priority, about time of response, about that. So it's like the system, the agent is helping you to have this done. In this case, only to question, whatever, but it's like, no, I am not interested in priority or not interested in response time. I am interested in another thing. You can chat with the agent and then maybe you can get the answer.
Are these little secret codes documented somewhere?
But then it's not, all the documentation is there in the BMC.
But this is a keyword, right? You've done something to say when the user says, help me to analyze incident management, present these 2 options.
Yeah, well,
Right.
we will check if it is totally defined in the official documentation. We will send that for sure. But this type of thing is working for all the modules, not only for change, for assets, for that help you to guide you how to resolve. But we will check the documentation and put in the Q&A.
All right, because I got different options than you're showing on the screen, and I clicked on one and it gave me no data. So it doesn't work.
Okay. Depending
So,
of your
interesting.
data, but no, that maybe depending on your data that you have, your information. If there is nothing that is covering your query that you are asking, there is no data. That is very important about permissions, that all the users have the permissions, that they have access to the data. Because
I'm the admin. I have every permission in the system.
Okay.
Also, Brian, what is extremely important is that the Helix Insight Finder works by the context, which means when you start asking questions, for example, for the incident management, it's going to kind of like a drill down from the first question down to the final question you may have. So you cannot lose the context. If you are trying, for example, I have no idea what you are trying, to type in the chat. But for example, if I start asking questions in regard to the incident management and I am drilling down, and I ask a different question, for example, I don't know, about change management, that is not going to work. I have to, if I am going to change the topic or the context, I have to click on the new topic. And that is why kind of like a reset, the idea before this one, and I can start continue with the rest. If you don't do that, it's going to fail. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And also take in consideration, the agent is going to be learning, from your company as the people is, using it. In this case, we play, with these agents every day. But please just validate.
Yeah, and I would suggest
I'm using a new window completely started over. So I don't think context is the problem in this case, but that's a good tip. I've run into that as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and hey, Brian, and another thing too is we can, if you don't mind, after a session, we can reach out and kind of arrange like a one-on-one session with you and kind of see what might be going on with your configuration and see where we can help you with some of that and some of the prompting if it's not returning data. So if you're open to that, we can reach out to you after the session.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I think it's more, I just want to learn how to use this optimally and then, obviously convince the people that make reports in my organization that this is a great tool to use. So
believe me, it's very powerful. But it's again, we just have to work with you to understand why the reason that is failing. But it really helps. We have worked with many customers and the feedback is very positive.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. Thank you.
And And just on that point, I was also going to recommend that whatever does get resolved for you, Brian, we will make sure that that gets put into the comments section. And part of why we're using the community to put information in there is what something someone else finds might actually benefit another. So we'll make sure we get all this captured.
Great, thank you.
Also, Brian, you are on version 25.3, right? Just to validate.
Yes, we're on 25.3.02.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Brian, I think you had another question. I'm just double checking. Did everything get covered for you? Maybe it got answered as well.
Yeah, I think we did. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Cheers.
So, Veronica, we have lots more questions. I think actually maybe we needed 30 minutes for the Q&A, which is great because we did have this time. So Radhika had another question about after we create all of the agent skills on QA and dev, can we export this to production and will skill ID remain unique across instances?
I will recommend that you create the same, into the production, the same steps that we have. You cannot just export it and import. You will have to recreate, the same steps, into production. But as you can see, it's very simple. I mean, yesterday I was working with a customer and in a matter of minutes, the agent was running. We have other agents that are way more complex because they require a lot of steps, to make it work. But this one is just as long as you have your connection established, you have no issues. In my case, we have the issue because I forgot, to select the agent that we created, but that was my mistake. It's not because the configuration doesn't work.
Sure, yeah. Typically what happens is, in our cases, the teams may be different, those who have access to production versus those who have access to development and test. They're different teams. So normally then we'll have to pause those detailed instructions instead of saying, just import this, which is typically easier for us. We'll just say, these are the packages, just import this. But if they have to create by hand, then we'll have to give them instructions, do this, do this.
Absolutely. You can hand the documentation we have. In the documentation, I promise you I am not missing the step of, linking the agent. It was my mistake during this workshop.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Mario, I can see you're answering the next question. So a question on, can HelixGPT help us create survey reporting? Do you want to pick that one up?
Yes, sure. I will also type the answer for the record. Just to answer it, basically, digital workplace. This falls into the digital workplace data model, which by the description, as you can see from the menu on the configure views, it's not included the survey. So it's the digital workplace view in the Helix ITSM provides a real-time overview of user experiences, including active, pending, and resolved service requests, incidents, and system performance. It tracks trends, user satisfaction is here, and SLA compliance. I would go into detail. So it says here user satisfaction. I would go into detail further on, and I will give the proper answer later on because I'll check internally about the data model that actually is included on this bit. Okay. I know I contradicted a little bit myself, but I've never tested the surveys, but we'll provide you an answer later.
Thanks, Mario. And then the next question I can see, Art, you're answering that one. Will Insight Finder be able to create reports using multiple tables?
Yeah, I was just going to ask a question actually. When I talk about multiple tables, are we talking about backend or are we talking about tables on Insight Finder?
Yes, it has the functionality to create joins, but again, it really depends on the language you use. But the answer is yes. Of course, it's going to be based on the information you have here, on the configure views.
Hello?
Hey, can you hear us, Fatouini?
Yes. Will it be able, let's say now we have a report that requires, for example, SLA information or service targets, and it needs to link that to the incident.
Yes, SLA works on version 25.3.
All right.
Yeah, so you can pull up a number of, so for example, you can pull up an incident report and ask for all the details where it can provide various columns of data. So it can pull in that information into that table.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your question. Okay, so next one was, what are the steps to set up Helix for KM to benefit the agentic AI?
Well, actually, we are doing it here, for the skill itself, because in the previous version, this one, the skill itself, it was prompt-based. In this particular case, now is agent-based, okay? So we are using the benefit of using the agents that we are creating through the process.
But if, sorry, Veronica, if I understand well the question for KM, for knowledge management, I understand, but what are the steps to set up in Helix for knowledge management to benefit the agentic AI? If I can get this question, or Veronica, you want to answer?
No, please go ahead.
Well, we are using knowledge management for agentic AI for other agents, like Employee Navigator or Service Collaborator, where the users can do questions and then we read the knowledge articles. So for the other agents, it is good. There is a synchronization. What we have to do is to define our knowledge source and then do a synchronization to the HelixGPT, and then we leverage the knowledge management. In this case, for Insight Finder, we don't use knowledge articles. The reason is because we go to the ITSM database to take the data and show in a dashboard. So it is not anything for now related with knowledge management in this case, at least for this release.
I wanted to show. Here is mine. I want to show her how we are leveraging this, for other agents. But again, this is not part of this session. This session is only and purely for Insight Finder.
Yeah, Veronica, we have many more questions. We can go for the next one.
Yeah, I think we need to do that. Definitely, there's a lot. So, Rado, I don't know if you can hear us. I'm just going to give you the ability to unmute. Can you hear us?
I can, yeah. So
yeah, do you want to ask your question?
My question, yeah. So my question is really about which tool should we use for the ITSM query builder agent? Yeah, so because the seed data is actually not using the toolkit, it's using the tool, at least in my environment. So can you just confirm, should we be using the ITSM query builder toolkit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Because there's the ITSM query builder tool as well. Yeah, so and that's different, and we should be using the toolkit. Yeah.
No, this is the one. What is the one that I created? BMC here.
Okay,
this is what you have to be using.
I got you. Yeah. Because if you look at the drop down, there's another one that just says ITSM query builder, but that's something that's obsolete now. Yeah.
Well, this is we can validate with with R&D.
Okay.
This is our understanding.
All right. That's all I wanted to confirm. That we should be using the toolkit. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's working for you?
Yeah, it's working. Yeah.
Okay. So then you are using the right one.
Yeah, it's just that the seed data is not actually using the query builder agent. It's just using the other one, but maybe it's just a problem with the seed data.
Need to talk to you, Raider.
Okay, so next question, we've got Marta's answering that question. This is from Radhika. In fact, it's just disappeared. She's answered it already. We'll go to the final question. I have added the ID for ITSM Query Builder Agent under Sub-Agents field in IS. Not sure who's asked that question. I don't know if it's more of a statement, or maybe Veronica, you might understand what's being asked here.
So we are talking about the sub-agent we have to select?
Yeah, so the question, or what's been posted in, is I have added the ID for ITSM Query Builder Agent under Sub-Agents field in IS. I'm expecting what they're just asking for is clarification. I don't know if the person that
Yes,
asked that-
well, maybe the person can say something, but it is
Mm.
like we have an historical in this conversation because I've been answering some question about this. There are some users that when they are doing the drop-down list in the menus, they don't see anything that is in blank. So I was speaking about recommendation to go to the records to the agent, and then from there we have to do this configuration manually. Yes, if there is something that is not populated, we need to come here to check the IDs. And then we are speaking about the ID in ITSM Query Builder agent. We have there an ID. Then what we need is to copy this ID and then go here that Veronica has in the screen, supervisor agent. And if you see in that part, sub agents, in the sub agents there, you need to copy and paste here the ID of the agent of ITSM. That is the point. If you don't have your sub agents in the supervisor query builder agent, you have to put the ID there. In the ITSM query builder, like that, the record, it is not needed to have another sub agent. So we only have sub agent for the supervisor agent.
Right.
So in other words, if you cannot add it here from here, for whatever reason you are not able to see it from here, you should, okay, by the way, you should, if you are selecting the right information and the tools, this tool should give you the opportunity, to add a sub-agent. But in case you are not doing, you don't have that ability, as Marta mentioned, you can just come here from the data record, you just have to click on the agent. From the agent, you have, again, you just have to drill down to the agents that you just created and just validate what is the, the name and the ID that is displayed here. As before, in case you come here and you don't see the ID from this, from the display columns, you just come here and select the ID from here. You just check on this and the ID will be displayed. So you just transfer manually this ID and this name to the supervisor agent. The supervisor agent is the one that has the sub-agent. The ITSM Query Builder agent doesn't need a sub-agent, okay? Just keep that in mind. It has to be on the supervisor agent. So you just copy and paste these two values into here, which in here is going to be to replace the code, and the ID is going to be here. But just keep in mind that it has to be inside, the brackets and the quotes. And then you save it. But should be, again, if you cannot see the sub-agents when you are creating the supervisor agent, please submit a ticket because you should be able to see it.
Okay.
Any other question?
Yes, we do have another question from Radhika. We have many personas who need reports. The support teams, end users, Helix app admins, business stakeholders. Can Insight Finder support all their reporting needs?
Yes, it can. Remember, the recommendation is that you do not provide creation rights to pretty much anybody. Okay, but you have to provide, or you can provide, the access right to pretty much the entire organization. Once the reports are created, you can see that the report is going to be created from the Insight Finder. And if you provide the access to pretty much anyone in your organization, they are going to be able to access the report created by the Insight Finder. You can also, provide the create rights as well, but the recommendation is that you provide the access right to pretty much anybody and use the creation to keep our users. But yes, the answer is yes.
Thank you, Veronica. I also want to understand, like, the tables that we need to report off, right? That's going to largely vary. And the data that they need to look at and all of that, right? For example, as app admins, I want to look at all the foundation data and report. End users, only their own tickets, whereas the support teams, multiple groups tickets. So, and sometimes it's not, so the number of tables will extend across ITSM. And so is all of that covered in Insight Finder?
Well, again,
foundation
it really
data?
depends on the custom views that you have in here. When you mean tables, you mean the different models that we have available. If you don't have it
Okay.
available here, and this is assuming you know that this is for your own custom data, the users are not going to be able to see it. So, but if you want, I think it's better in your case to have a one-to-one session to discuss this further, to really understand the use case, what you are referring with multiple tables and the different, use cases depending on their profile.
Veronica, if I can add something on this, you will see, you will have the option to do the queries about all the tables and the schemas that you have in Visual Query Builder. If you have been using Visual Query Builder there, you have like different views that out of the box, these are the ones that we are checking here. But there is a tool from BMC to update this Visual Query Builder. And yes, that the tool is Reporting Metadata Studio. That is the tool that you can install, and then you can extend your views with all these tables, even custom tables, custom fields, and then you can use in Insight Finder. But the previous step is to modify Visual Query Builder through the Reporting Metadata Studio. With that, you will be able to have all of this visibility on the different tables.
In fact, if you have it today, it should work. If you are using Visual Data Studio, it should work.
Okay.
But again, we can have another session, we can, explain you more if you are not using this tool, because this is a tool that is going to bring the custom information, okay? Right after this exercise, if you start querying the data against specific fields, the field itself, you might be able to see it, but the data inside the field, you won't be able to see it unless you bring it here.
Right. And how can I access this metadata studio?
This is from here. Where was it? I don't...
No, Metadata Studio is a tool that you need to download and then install in your laptop and then open the connection to modify the Visual Query Builder. Okay, this is in the BMC documentation. We can check about the documentation and then where is the place to download. But if you search in communities about Reporting Metadata Studio tool,
from here you can access it.
And you will have
the administration
to download.
General Reporting Metadata Studio. You can get it from here.
Okay, sure, yeah.
And once you click there, you have the information to set up the environment. But check the documentation. The instructions are there as well.
Okay. And this we have to do for every environment, right? Development, QA, production separately.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Because otherwise it's not going to be available. It depends. Remember, those are independent environments. So whatever you do in one is not going to be reflected unless you make those changes.
Okay, thank you.
And also this information using here is going to be different for every environment. So that's why it's important that you come here and you get it from here. So because this information is going to be used during the setup.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, we've got one more question. I think we've run over by a few minutes, but if you don't mind taking this last question from Brian. Brian's question was, does the toolkit have any configuration associated with it? I see out of the box an ITSM Query Builder toolkit, and it has a configuration of dot and the closed brackets. What does this do? And if there is not a config related to it? Brian, feel free to talk as well.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the components. So we've related the ITSM Query Builder as an agent, and the ITSM Query Builder agent itself relies on this toolkit, and the toolkit, from what I see exposed, I'm not sure what it does. Could you clarify what that's doing?
For that specific information, we can provide you the information so you can really, read more about it. But it's pretty much, if you remember from my presentation, I showed you the different components, and I also added an extra slide in where you have more information in regards to every component. And we also can provide, the documentation for you to get more in it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thanks for your question. Okay, I think it's probably a good time to close the workshop today. So Thank you, Veronica and team, for getting all the questions answered. I'm very scared. There's 40 questions to go and put together. Thank you for those that have actually given those. And if there is any further questions, as we mentioned, when we give you access to the community, if you want to put your questions in there, but just give us a little bit of time to get them together. Final thing is the link that you signed up for this session. If you're interested in all the other agents or any other sessions, because we've got some Ask the Expert, that might be when you want to ask more questions. They're also documented and detailed for you. So with that, thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the day.